Welcome, everyone, and thank you to those joining us live and to those listening in afterwards. I'd like to warmly welcome our guest today, whom I'll shortly introduce. Our webinar today is titled Examples of Research Conducted by Pharmacy Technicians Around the World, and it is from FIP Pharmacy Technician Advisory Committee. This digital event highlights the valuable research conducted by pharmacy technicians around the world, recognizing their growing role in healthcare. The event showcases diverse projects that demonstrate their contribution to advancing pharmacy practices and patient care. By sharing real world examples, it aims to inspire and inform pharmacy professionals about the valuable impact of research led by pharmacy technicians. Attendees will gain insights into current trends, challenges, and innovations, emphasizing the critical role of pharmacy technician in improving healthcare outcomes globally. My name is Mohammad Umaid, and I'm truly honored to be your moderator for this important global webinar. I currently serve as the Director and Educational Entrepreneur at Al-Fateh Institute of Health Sciences in Pakistan. I am also a proud member of FIP's Pharmacy Technician Advisory Committee, a well-being ambassador, and the Haifa Healthcare Information for All country representative for Pakistan. Today's session reflects exactly that mission. We are here to celebrate the critical contribution of pharmacy technician to healthcare, not just as a support staff, but as researchers, innovators, and change makers. This platform is a recognition of their growing role, the call to amplify their voice on the global stage. And now I'm pleased to introduce someone I deeply respect and admire in the pharmacy space. My co moderator for today's session, Mr. Peter Karegwa. Peter is a pharmacist, pharmaceutical systems innovator based in Kenya, and brings with him a wealth of experience in strengthening health systems, especially through digital transformation and access to medicines. Peter, over to you for our introduction.
Th- Thank you very much. I thank you for that introduction. I think I'm okay with that. So we can continue.
Okay, sure. Next
Yes.
slide, please. Yes, as you see on the slide, we have some announcements. Please note this event will be recorded, live streamed on FIP YouTube, and the recording will be available at events.fip.org. To all those listening, please feel free to send your questions through the Q&A box provided, and I will do my best to manage all the questions so that at the end, we will be able to address those questions. You are welcome to provide feedback to webinars at fip.org, and I would like to take this opportunity to promote the benefits of membership with FIP, including events and webinars. FIP is a global body representing over 4 million pharmacists and pharmaceutical scientists. If you are a pharmacist or pharmaceutical scientist and you would like to become a member, please register on FIP's website at fip.org. Next, please. Before we dive in to the main part of today's session, I'd like to quickly highlight a few new features that may be useful for many of our global participants. Zoom now offers live translated captions, which can help you follow along in your preferred language. To use this feature, just follow these three simple steps. Step 1, click the CC icon at the bottom of your Zoom window to turn on captions. Step 2, enable the translation toggle. You'll see an option that allows you to turn on translated captions. Step 3, Go to My Caption Language and choose your preferred language from the list. That's it. You can now follow the conversation with live translated subtitles in your own language. We hope this makes the session more accessible and, and inclusive for everyone joining us from different parts of the world. As we move forward, this slide introduces the exceptional individuals who will be sharing their research with us today. We are incredibly fortunate to be joined by Justice Oitent, pharmaceutical technologist from Mombasa County, Kenya, bringing insights from his field experience. From Portugal, we welcome Jacinta Brassel, senior diagnostic and therapeutic technician from São João University Hospital Center, offering a hospital perspective. And joining us from the USA is Janita Lachman Singh, pharmacy technician at Syneos Health, who will shed light on research in a clinical industry setting. We'll delve deeper into each of their backgrounds and work just before their respective presentation. We thank them and appreciate their valuable time. Next, please. Well, this is the today's program that is in front of you, and I would like Peter to kindly take it over from here, if he can. Okay, I shall continue. Well, we had the welcome and the introduction by the moderators. I myself, Mohammad, and my partner Peter, we introduced ourselves. And now we will be following it up with the presentations. As I mentioned, the first will be the role of pharmacy technicians in clinical research by Janita. Then there will be hydration and health, hydration status and healthcare professionals by Jacinta Brassel. And then the last but not the least, the presentation will be impact of methadone assisted therapy among chemomet clinic clients in Mombasa County by Justice Oento. And then after that, we will be having an interactive question and answer session. And finally, we'll be giving a wrap up and conclusion. And these are
Uh,
the yeah,
so
please.
will be this will be our learning objective. Thank you, Mohammed, for that. This will be our learning objectives. The first one, the attendee will be made to understand the scope and the significance of research conducted by pharmacy technicians globally. And the second objective will recognize the impact of pharmacy technician-led research on pharmacy practice and patient care. And the last and the third objective is to identify the current trends, challenges, and innovations in pharmacy technician research worldwide.
Thank you, Peter.
Uh,
And
Here we come to our first presenter by name Janieta. Like we have been said, is a pharmacy technician from USA. And maybe Mohammed can give us more details about Janieta as she prepares to come in.
yes, sure, Peter. Thank you. Well, the presenter here is Janita Lechman Singh, an experienced and certified pharmacy technician with a diverse background, now transitioned into clinical research. Janita practiced as a pharmacist in Guyana and the Commonwealth of the Bahamas prior to relocating to South Florida with her family. She graduated from the University of Guyana with a distinction in pharmacy. Jonathan was recognized by the Sandilands Rehabilitation Center in the Bahamas for 15 years of dedicated service, devotion, and commitment to the success of the institution. She is currently a registered pharmacy technician with the Florida Board of Pharmacy and holds PTCB certification along with certification in sterile compounding from the National Pharmacy Technician Association. Janita is a 2021 Optum Superhero nominee and a recipient of the Medication Master Certificate from the Sinos Health in appreciation for managing steady drugs with accuracy and accountability. Over to Janita. We welcome you for your session.
Thank you, Mohammed. Thank you, Peter. Good morning, everyone, or good afternoon to everyone, those in a different time zone from USA. And my presentation covers the role of pharmacy technicians in clinical research. There are 4 phases in clinical research: phase 1, phase 2, phase 3, and phase 4. Currently, I practice at a phase 1 research clinic. So I will give you the perspective and from a phase 1 research site. Before I move further into my presentation, I will give you a brief introduction into what is early phase clinical research or phase 1 clinical research. Early phase trials or phase 1 trials are the first in human studies. They are the first step in testing an investigational drug product or IDP in humans. And the goal of phase 1 trials is to evaluate the safety and tolerability of the investigational drug product. And here we determine a safe dose range of the IP for future trials. Also, in phase 1 trials, we have secondary endpoints which are pharmacokinetics and pharmacodynamics, PK or PD, usually abbreviated. And a secondary PK endpoint would determine the absorption, distribution, metabolism, and excretion of the drug or IP in the body. Pharmacodynamics would reveal the effect of the drug on the human body. A phase 1 trial enrolls healthy volunteers, and usually it's about 60 to 20 subjects in a phase 1 clinical trial. With that being said, the role of pharmacy technicians go beyond the traditional pharmacy duties. It involves protocol support, documentation, and collaboration with clinical teams. The contributions of pharmacy technicians directly affect patient safety, trial success, and regulatory compliance. Next. Here are some of the key responsibilities and differences from traditional pharmacy roles. Pharmacy technicians provide protocol support and are involved in trial preparation. They also participate in site initiation visit, assist with investigational drug management. They are directly involved with compounding and dose preparation, oversight with record keeping and regulatory compliance, and directly involved in daily communication and collaboration with clinical teams, sponsors, and monitors. Next slide. Let's take a look at protocol support and trial preparation. Technicians assist with study setup and binder preparation. And here we organize a study binder for each trial with sections for all required documentation. Technicians also prepare control documents such as a signature sheet, which is an attestation that you have read and understood the clinical protocol. We also prepare a reading log, which is another attestation that you have read and understood the pharmacy manual for a clinical trial. Then we have the IP receiving form, which is documentation related to the receipt of your investigational product. Dispensing and accountability forms, which directly relate to your inventory of your investigational product, and the IP disposition and final accountability forms, which I will go into a little more detail further in the presentation. As a pharmacy technician, I'm also involved with creating dosing labels for dispensing. And here you have to be very attentive to whether your trial is an open label or blinded trial. If it's an open label, for example, your label or your directions would be very clear to state administer if you're testing, if your IP is drug X, then for example, your label would state administer drug X 10 milligrams orally once daily. Now, if your trial is a blinded trial, then your directions would state administer drug X 10 milligrams or placebo orally once daily as per clinical protocol. But it's very, very important to understand, to read and understand your protocol if it's an open label or blinded trial, because at no point in time can we risk to unblind a trial. I lost you?
No, you are very audible. You are very audible.
Sorry. Sorry about that. Another task related to trial preparation is the creation of worksheets for aseptic compounding. And for aseptic compounding, we may not have a standard template, which is common for oral dispensing, because for aseptic compounding, they're depending on your preparation and what you're preparing, whether it's syringes or if you're attaching a filter to your syringe, then you will have different steps involved in the process. So each workflow or each work instruction for aseptic compounding will be tailored, will be unique to that process. So technicians create worksheets. As a technician, I'm involved with creating worksheets for trials that involve aseptic compounding. And we follow strictly USP 797 guidelines for aseptic compounding. As a technician, I also provide technical guidance for protocol implementation, where you will collaborate with your sponsor. There may be questions surrounding your supplies, whether you can use simple as a 3 ml or a 5 ml syringe, depending on the volume required and the graduation on your syringe, the type of tubing that will be required, if it's compatible with your IP. So these are all tasks that as a technician you're involved with. And related to protocol support and trial preparation is the orientation and training of staff in the event that you have new hires on board. And technicians also participate in the site initiation visit, which is provided by your sponsor of the trial, along with maybe a monitor for the trial, who basically provide an overview of the clinical trial and what happens throughout the trial during monitor visits. Next slide. So another task another responsibility of a pharmacy technician is investigational drug management. Investigational drug management involves handling and storage of your IP, inventory control and documentation, and final accountability. So, handling and storage of your IP. Here we will have IP receipt and documentation. So, when your IP arrives on site, there is a process for IP receipt. And here we will use the IP receipt form that's created or prepared by the technician for receipt of the IP. And here we will document if the IP was received in good condition, if the package was intact. There is also a temperature monitoring device that accompanies the IP during shipment. And we have to ensure that that temperature monitoring device was kept on during shipment and that our IP maintained the required storage temperature during shipment. And during the receipt process, there is the temperature monitoring device, usually called a temp tail, and we can insert that into our USB drive, and there we will download a file which will track the IP from from shipment, from wherever it was shipped to our site. And we can tell if the temperature was maintained, the required temperature was maintained throughout shipment. So that's very important. Otherwise, if the IP was not stored at the required temperature, then we have to quarantine that IP, reach out to our sponsor for further guidance, and until they provide guidance on whether we can proceed, then we can proceed with using the IP. But very important is storage, temperature monitoring for your investigational product. So as a pharmacy technician, handling and storage, it's very important for your investigational product and for your clinical trial. Once you receive your IP and complete your formal reception process, your investigational product is stored, whether it can be, for example, a controlled temperature cabinet, which is usually between 20 to 25 degrees. If it's a refrigerator, we usually go 2 to 8 degrees Celsius, or for a freezer, it's -15 to -25 degrees Celsius. And we have to maintain, we usually maintain our temperature and humidity. There's very strict oversight with our environmental monitoring system, monitoring temperature and humidity continuously, because any deviations in temperature and humidity affects our trial. So it's very important. Then we will have to get our sponsors involved to determine if we can proceed with, there will be a quarantine if there is a deviation. For usually your protocol would reveal storage and when there is need to quarantine and when to seek guidance. So that's all included in your protocol. So that's why it's very important to read and understand your protocol, and especially the section that details storage conditions of your investigational product. Related to inventory control and documentation, as I mentioned earlier, technicians are involved with preparing dispensing and accountability forms, and this tracks your IP inventory. So once you perform dispensing, usually on your dispensing and accountability forms, you log your date, the time dispensing was performed, and the quantity of medication dispensed per subject, whether it was your active drug or whether it's a placebo for a blinded trial. But very important is your dispensing and accountability forms to manage your IP inventory. And related to IP management is your final accountability forms. And this will cover the quantity of your IP or investigational product at the end of your trial. And what do we do with the product at the end of the trial? So we confer with our sponsor as to IP disposition, whether they provide communication for destruction, or we may have to return the IP to the sponsor, or the sponsor may require the site to retain samples. So we can have either destruction, we can have return to sponsor, or we can have retention of samples based on directives from our sponsor. So these are all tasks related to investigational drug management performed by pharmacy technicians directly, handling and storage, where we are involved with IP receipt, where we are involved with oversight of temperature and humidity parameters, inventory control, and final accountability. And each of these tasks require documentation for clinical trials and for regulatory compliance. Next slide. Compounding and dose preparation. So our investigational product may be an oral, a solid dosage form, oral, tablets or capsule. It may be a solution, a liquid, a suspension, or a syrup, or we can have an injectable IP for IM, IV, or subcutaneous administration. And compounding and dose preparation, as I mentioned before, here comes in our dispensing and accountability forms or our worksheets for aseptic compounding. As a technician, you'll also be involved with the preparation of labels for your investigational product for dispensing during compounding and dose preparation. And your labels, there are requirements for your labels. Usually, your protocol number must appear on your label, your subject randomization number, as well as the IP strength. We try to capture the lot number, as well as storage conditions and expiry date, which is very important. Expiry date, especially for aseptic compounding, because that relates to your beyond use date for your IP. It can be 4 hours, it can be 1 hour. So then that requires live dispensing for your injectable IPs. And very important, your labels, our labels reflect a cautionary statement, new drug, limited by federal or United States law to investigational use only. So, as mentioned before, during labeling and dispensing, your directions usually reflect whether the trial is an open label or a blinded trial. If it's blinded, then we usually have to include placebo, take X or placebo, and randomization as well, because the label usually reflects the subject number, and that's how it's administered. There are no names of the subjects. Each subject has a unique randomization number for that specific cohort that we are dosing. So as a technician, it's very important. You have to be very detail oriented, reading your protocol, reading your pharmacy manual, and noting all the fine details that are required to be captured on your label. And finally, your all documentation all forms, your dispensing, your documentation are reviewed by your pharmacist. And then on top of the pharmacist review and verification, we usually have a third party for a final review before we send our doses or our IP on the subject unit. Next slide. Record keeping and regulatory compliance. Documentation is essential in research for audits and monitoring. And phase 1 sites, as well as I'm sure other trial sites, follow what's known as ALCOA principles, which stands for, it's an abbreviation for attributable, legible, contemporaneous, original, and accurate. And adherence to ALCOA is necessary for good documentation practice and data integrity. In the US, clinical trials are governed by the US Food and Drug Administration, FDA, specifically Title 21 Code of Federal Regulations, CFR, and we also adhere to ICH guidelines for good clinical practice, usually referred to as our E6 guidelines, R3. Next slide. So in conclusion, I want to leave with you that pharmacy technicians are essential in ensuring the safe and accurate handling of investigational drugs and helping to streamline trial operations. Attention to detail and regulatory knowledge are critical in early phase trials. And as clinical research grows, demand for skilled pharmacy technicians in research settings is increasing. So with that being said, I hope that my presentation provided an insight into the scope of pharmacy technicians in clinical research. And I want to thank FIP for giving me this opportunity to present at this forum today. Thank you.
Wow, 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 wow. Thank you, Janietta, for such a good presentation. I know at one time you feel like you are not listening. It's only that you are just very attentive. Your presentation is so great, and we have learned a lot. Actually, we have learned the tradition and old roles of pharmaceutical technician, and we are happy because you are creating a good motivation. But just before we let the other speaker, we would like to know from you, what's your, would you tell us how you started being involved in a clinical trial? And maybe did you have any formal education that maybe encouraged you or made you enter that space of clinical trial and research?
So, Peter, prior to clinical research, I worked in home infusion and I loved sterile compounding. I still do. But I was looking for a new setting, and here it was that an opportunity presented, and I was successful in my interview with Syneos, and so it just happened. I transitioned into clinical research with no looking back. It's very exciting. And I was able to leverage my skills and experience, especially from home infusion, to a research setting. Because in clinical research setting, IV compounding, sterile preparation is very important, as it's a very important skill. As a technician,
Wow.
it's required for in research to be able to perform aseptic compounding.
Wow,
So
wow.
I think, that was the selling point.
Yeah, that's well answered because we are looking forward for inspiration, and I know many pharmaceutical technicians across the world are listening and serving of the opportunity might come in. You need to be prepared. So thank you, Janita. And now Ines will be welcoming the next speaker. The next speaker is Jacinta, a senior diagnostic and therapeutic technical pharmacy in the University of Sao University Hospital Center in Portugal. I wish to welcome Mohammad to give us a brief bio of Jacinta.
Thank you, Peter. It was really nice to hear from Janita, and there were very good questions that you asked. So she's really is an inspiration. And the audience that we have, I hope that they follow her and all the other pharmacists that are coming on the board. So now let us welcome Jacinta Brussel. The topic is hydration and health, hydration status in healthcare professional. Biography for her is healthcare professional with over 18 years of experience in hospital pharmacy, currently working at São João University Hospital Center, Portugal, certified professional in lifestyle medicine by the International Board of Lifestyle Medicine and member of the American College of Lifestyle Medicine and the Portuguese Society of Lifestyle Medicine. Holds advanced training in clinical nutrition, anti-aging therapeutics, and hydration. Actively involved in scientific research and dissemination on hydration and health. I welcome you to this session and look forward to your presentation.
Okay, thank you, Mohammed. Thank you, Peter, and congratulations to Janiera on her excellent presentation. So, I'm Jacinta. I'm talking to you from Portugal. This is my academic path so far. So I have a bachelor's in pharmacy, then I took a master's in clinical nutrition, and now I'm pursuing my PhD on clinical nutrition as well. My interest in the water metabolism and hydration comes from the fact that we only talk about water or hydration on extreme situations. There is no universal accept method to assess hydration, and human water needs depend. I'm sorry, the slides keep going. Human water needs depend on many different factors. We know that water is vital, and when we don't drink enough water, the thirst mechanisms get activated and the vasopressin is released and it acts on the kidney. So the kidney reabsorbs water to keep the balance. We know that in the case of acute mild hypohydration, it can affect exercise performance, cognitive function, mood, fatigue, but it also can affect glucose regulation, blood vessel function, thermoregulation. And nowadays in the hydration field, we're thinking if a chronic low water intake can have a big impact on our health on the long term, or even represents a greater risk of cardiovascular disease. So I want to make this aware for you guys as well. And why did I study hydration on healthcare professionals? Well, hypohydration is highly prevalent in the healthcare setting. Like half of the workers go hypohydrated by the end of the shift, and even they even are more oliguric than the patients they're treating. It has a big impact because hydration impacts cognitive function, short-term memory. It interferes with your attention, your decision making. So it has the potential to be a risk for patient care as well. It represents a challenge because the clinical signs are very subtle, and there's no, as I told you, there's no gold standard for assessing hydration as well. So we need more evidence. We need occupational studies, because hypohydration is frequent among healthcare professionals. Sorry, again, this keeps going. Hypohydration is very frequent among healthcare professionals, and it has an impact on our performance and our health, and even has an impact on patient safety as well. I will show you some of the work I've been doing for my that I've done for my master's, and then I'll be start to going forward with my PhD. So the main objective was to assess hydration status on the health professionals, and my first sample were all health professionals working at the pharmaceutical services, where I work as well. And we did assessment of free water reserve. We took urine osmolality, we took plasma copeptin, and a lot of measurements, but I'm only going to talk to you about some of them. You know, at the hospital setting, in the pharmacy sector, we have negative pressure rooms and positive pressure rooms. And the question was, are these professionals working in these rooms are more at risk because of the equipment they have on and the time they spent in there? So this was an observational cross-sectional study they had done in the pharmaceutical service with all colleagues. And we were 116 employees at the time, and the sample was for 22 volunteers for the first setting. So we did a questionnaire, we did 24-hour urine samples, executive function, concentration, and testing for attention as well. We did bioelectroimpedance, we did a blood collection, and we did a 24-hour food survey. All of this in a 24-hour window on on the working day. When we looked at the 24-hour urine sample, you use this to assess hydration. If the osmolality was above 500, you would be hypohydrated. Or your free water reserve was negative, you also be hypohydrated. If the free water reserve value is positive, you're good. We did two tests for executive. I'm sorry, again, this keeps putting. Okay. We did two tests for executive function and concentration, and we did a test for attention as well. And the blood sample, I wanted to talk to you about this one. The blood sample, we'd look at plasma osmolality, and we look at something called plasma copeptin. Copeptin is produced in a 1-to-1 ratio with AVP. That's the hormone that signals the kidneys to save up water. So when the AVP goes up, the copeptin also goes up. And keep this in mind, because this will be important in the next slide. So this was our sample, mostly women. I don't know in your workplace if you have more men or women, but in Hospital São João at Porto, we have more female pharmacy technicians than we have, male pharmacy technicians. So when we look at the hydration status, we saw that 41% of the sample was hypohydrated. When we look at the urine values, and we see the mean osmolality of the hypohydration group is above 700, and this imposes a risk for kidney stone formation, as you all know. I'm sorry, again, this keeps going by itself. I brought you, this is a urine scale for assessing hydration status based on urine color. And this could be put up in your bathroom, in your workplace. So you could check, or even your colleagues could check your urine color and have an idea if you're hypohydrated or not. There's even one for children from the Hydration for Health Institute. And this would be a good tip if you want to be aware of your hydration status and how you are, to put this up on their bathroom and check the color. So going back to the study. Afterwards, we assessed the copeptin values. As I told you, the copeptin is a surrogate for AVP. When you don't drink enough water, AVP goes up so the urine osmolality goes up because the kidney is saving up water. And why is this important? Because remember I told you there was a perspective of hydration for long-term health. And we see a lot of, I'm sorry, data coming up about the copeptin as a predictive marker of heart failure, of kidney disease, even of metabolic syndrome. I'm sorry, I'm kind of sick. And there's some investigation being done on this long-term effect of hypohydration and its consequences. Afterwards, I'm sorry. Afterwards, we went back our data and we did a comparison of the people working in pressured rooms. That's the house with a Wi-Fi signal on, and people working in no pressured rooms. And we saw that the workers in the pressured rooms, half of them were hypohydrated. That's a lot. And when we looked at the, I'm sorry again. When we looked at the attention test, we saw that despite half of the workers working in the pressured rooms were hypohydrated, they have more attention with statistically significant difference from the ones that work at atmospheric pressure or working around the hospital. And this was interesting because we know if you're hypohydrated, your attention goes down. So we went and tried to find an explanation for this. And what we found was the kind of work you do on these rooms. You do chemo on the negative pressure rooms in a big hospital. You do artificial nutrition or compounding on the positive pressured rooms. So we thought, could this be the reason? Because when you work on these rooms, you're usually looking at labels and looking at syringes and setting volumes and looking at concentrations of medication. And the attention room test was a test with numbers. So we thought this was interesting to see this increased attention despite being more hypohydrated on these rooms. And I think this speaks to the responsibility of what we do on a daily basis on these units. So our work on pharmacy technicians and the pharmacy setting in a big hospital, we found that 40% of the sample was hyperhydrated, just looking at urinary parameters, but only almost 70% of them were under or hypohydrated. If we look at that plasma copeptin value I talked to you about, that could be indicator of some kind of illness in the long run. So we thought this was all interesting, and even that the attention test was significantly higher on the working on the pressured rooms despite being more hypohydrated. So we thought of interventions to improve the conditions of these people. So we thought of interventions that like hydration stations for fresh water, training like calling awareness, or training professional health workers, being them of the importance of hydration. We thought about scheduling pauses between works for mandatory breaks for hydration during long shifts, or even try to monitor the hydration status by mobile phone with the signals to reminders to drink water, or use the urine scales on the bathrooms like the ones I've shown you. And the next steps on my investigation hopefully would be expand the the work to bigger volume of volunteers, try to do in various clinical contexts, try to establish partnerships, and I have 2 partnerships going on with 2 public institutes in Portugal to do more investigation on hydration and its importance, and try to submit and scientifically publishing the results from this work. So thank you very much for listening, and I'm sorry about my voice, and the slides keep going by themselves. Excuse me.
Thank you very much, Jacinta. It has been a pleasure to hear you, and we wish you good health. And it was really very awesome, the idea behind hydration, because it's very important, and the research that you have done. And we wish you the very best in your research. And thank you for your time. So now, ladies and gentlemen, let us introduce our third speaker. And the topic is impact of methadone assisted therapy among Shimomat clinic clients in Mombasa County. So before I go for the long introduction, I would like Peter to kindly say a few words.
Yeah, I would thank you, Jacinta, for such a good, inspiring research. I think you are inspiring us to join research, and that's such a good thing. Uh, for Justus, who is our next presenter from Mombasa County, Kenya, is a seasoned pharmaceutical technologist with over 15 years of hands-on experience in pharmaceutical care, public health, and humanitarian medical support. Justus holds a diploma in pharmaceutical technologies and also has a bachelor's degree in community health. He also has a master's degree in epidemiology and disease control. On part of his experience and working experience, he has worked in community pharmacy. He has worked in emergency and humanitarian healthcare delivery in MSF. He has also worked in medically assisted therapy, commonly called MAT clinic. Currently, he is serving as the National Organizing Secretary of Kenya National Union of Pharmaceutical Technologists, where he champions the rights of professional development and recognition of pharmaceutical technologists across the country. Welcome, Justus.
Thank you very much, Peter. You can hear me well?
Yes, you are loud and clear.
You can see my camera?
Yes,
Yeah,
we can.
see it.
Okay, thank you very much, everyone, for giving me this opportunity at this platform for FIP. It is my first time to do this presentation. And my name is Justus Otieno from Kenya, pharmaceutical technologist, practicing at Shimomat Clinic, serving as methadone assisted therapy. Are you able to move the slides? Peter?
Yeah. Yes, the slides are moving. You can talk.
Yeah, they are now moving. You can continue.
Okay. So once again, thank you very much, FIP and the organizers, for this meeting to give us opportunity as pharmacy technician to present our research in pharmacy space. And I'm going to take you through the impact of methadone assisted therapy at Shimomat Clinic, whereby we help clients or patients to recover fully from illicit opioid use. So without wasting much time, I'll go direct to the background. Methadone therapy has been used worldwide as the gold standard in treatment of substance use disorder. This methadone has been used since 1950s as a treatment method for those who are using heroin or other illicit opioid. Ashimomat Clinic was established in the year 2020 by the UNODC and in collaboration with the Mombasa County government and Kenya Prison Services. This clinic is set up at a prison compound where it serves more than 300 clients, both the inmates and the people within the community. It provides clinical, psychological, and pharmacological therapy to the inmates and the community at large, whereby methadone is the main pharmacotherapy. Methadone is a synthetic opioid which acts on the alpha and mu receptors on the nervous system, on the central and peripheral system of the body. You can move to the next slide, please. So, what were the objective of us having this research at Shimomat Clinic? We were trying to look at what is the impact or what has this client gained since they started using this methadone at our clinic. We were trying to assess the quality of life. Have they improved from their life since they started using this, or have they just remained the same the way they used to be? We're also looking at, is there any reduction in terms of the illicit use of opioid, and is there any general improvement in their psychosocial support life? And this is the methodology we used. We used cross-sectional analysis from the existing files and also the data using questionnaires and interviews, just to know whether these clients are really improving from this methadone. And we used the SPSS, that is the analysis that we use to verify whether there is an impact on the methadone assisted therapy at Shimomat Clinic. You can move to the next slide, please. So these are some of the results that we got from the study. We got that 92% of respondents reported a significant improvement in their relationship with friends and family. They were able to integrate well with the family and go back to the community, because there before they faced a lot of challenges integrating back to the community. We also found out that 90% of the participants reported fewer symptoms and opioid withdrawal compared to earlier when they were still using this illicit opioid like heroin, codeine in the dens where they're using this illicit opioid. 72% were able to continue using this methadone at our clinic without any interruption, meaning that they were active users. So that is a good percentage who come every day to take methadone, because methadone is usually taken daily dose. They have to come to our clinic every day without failure. We also found that 36% did not use any illicit. They did not mix any illicit opioid with methadone. They were just using this methadone to gain full recovery, and they were not mixing with any other illicit opioid. While 62% say that they're still using these other drugs, they are using polydrugs. They are mixing methadone at the same time with heroin, codeine, and alcohol. And some of them even said that alcohol is not a drug, even smoking tobacco is not a big deal for them. So they still mixed it with other illicit opioids. 8% of these clients were still experiencing stigma, generally at the clinic and also outside, because they are being discriminated as people who are not well behaved in the society, who cause violence, who cause crimes in the society. So they still felt that they are being discriminated, and they felt like they are stigmatized because of taking this methadone, though they have enrolled at Matt Clinic to gain full recovery from this illicit opioid use. And nearly 99% of these clients whom we interviewed, whom we had questionnaire with, said that they will recommend other colleagues of them who are still using this opioid in the street. They approve this methadone as really helping them because they are able to come to the clinic without failure, and they have changed even their lifestyle, how they used to be in the street. You can move to the next slide, please. And now we are coming to the conclusion and recommendation. As we know that methadone is one of the gold standard for treatment for opioid, for the illicit opioid across the world. And these are some of the conclusions that we found out. Methadone is important in patients with substance use disorder recovery. It's very, very important because it helps in improving their mental health well-being. They're able to think clearly and make the right decision at right time if you compare to how they used to use the illicit opioid in the street. They are not making the right decision. And it is also very significant in lowering illicit opioid use. They can no longer depend on other illicit opioids. They are only focused on methadone so that they can gain full recovery from this illicit opioid use. It also lowers the criminal activities that they used to get involved in because most of the time in cases of mob justice, in cases of crimes and violence, these are the people who are being targeted or who are being selected as the one who causes violence in society. So methadone has really helped them to lower their activities in terms of getting involved in violence and criminal activities. Methadone has also enhanced family integration, and they are able to get back to their families. They're those who divorced, they're those who separated from their family. But after starting using methadone, they're now able to get back to their family, to reunite again, and even being accepted to stay at home because they were staying away from home because of their use of illicit opioid. Generally, methadone has really improved their life, and this is a recommendation that any other challenging opioid use or dependency, or those people who want to recover from opioid use, methadone is highly recommended. That is a program that really helps these clients to gain full recovery and have a quality life like any other person in the society. It has also decreased the cases of mortality, and this is, you'll find that when they were using this methadone, there were many cases where they had overdoses because they cannot really know the dosage of heroin or those illicit opioid that they're using in the den where they're misusing these drugs. So you will find them just dying on the street because of using this illicit opioid. So if there is a program that is really recommended for those people who want to have full recovery from heroin use. Methadone is the program that is well put in place to help these kind of people. And also, just to mention, is that methadone is a very vital harm reduction, because this type of people, they were injecting drugs and they were sharing syringes whereby they get HIV, syphilis, and any other disease without them knowing, because of sharing these syringes. So methadone is really helping them, and even help them to save money, because they no longer use finances to buy this illicit opioid on the street. Next. Thank you very much for giving me opportunity to present to you this research as a pharmaceutical technologist and Shimo La Tewa Mat Clinic, one of the clinic that has been set up in a prison setup, and one of them in Africa, if not only in Kenya. And
Wow.
we really appreciate it. Thank you very much, FIP and the whole team, for organizing such great for pharmaceutical technician across the world. Thank you.
Wow, 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 wow. Thank you, Justus. That was an interesting presentation. And it's nice to hear that pharmacy technicians are being involved to handle patients with even lifetime conditions and disorder. And also they are still being involved in research, particularly clinical and trial. Uh, uh, just before I invite Mohammed to ask more questions, I got few questions so that Mohammed can come in and get questions from attendees. But from my side, I would wish to hear this from Justus. What's the role of pharmacy technician in those two levels? The first one is the one that you are being involved to render those drugs to those that are affected, and the other question is the role of pharmacy technician in that research that you guys, I understand you have done it as a team.
Yeah, thank you very much, Peter. The role of a pharmaceutical technologist or technician at this research is very broad, because as pharmacy technician, we're the one who give the methadone dosage, and we are the one who directly involved in even getting the first hand symptoms or overdose. So we help in management of overdose, and also giving the right procedure to follow to the clinician or the doctor who is within the clinic.
Thank you. And maybe the role of the research, the role of pharmacy technologist or technician in that research?
Yeah, the role of a pharmacy technician at this research is in order to ensure that we verify whether the dosage that we give at the pharmacy are really making an impact to these clients. And it also helps us to determine whether this dosage can be reduced when they have withdrawal symptoms from the methadone use, in coordination with the other team, because methadone treatment it cuts across from the psychosocial, clinical, and the pharmacy, that is the pharmacotherapy of the methadone on the human body, that is the client. Thank
Wow, that's so great, Jasa. Thank you for that response. My other question goes to Jacinta, even as we prepare the other questions from attendees. Is Jacinta, is peptine as a biomarker currently being used by clinicians to diagnose metabolic disorder like the atherosclerosis?
As far as I know, copeptin is being used nowadays to patients with polyuria and for the differential diagnosis of diabetes insipidus, because there's it's a problem with the math of the dosing method. You should have there's a specific dosing method for investigation, and there's a specific dosing method for clinicians. So as far as I know, by now, it's being used for these two. I also know in the ICU context, it's a predictive of an outcome of an ICU patient equivalent to interleucin 6. That's the one they usually use in ICU patients. And the copeptin has a good predictability as well. All the others, we've been using that for investigation only. There's not cutoffs yet. Just for these two, for polyuria and diabetes insipidus, there's cutoffs for using copeptin, as far as I know.
Thank you, Jacinta, for that. And that's a great research, and we look forward to hearing from you from the other side of Portugal and hear what else you are looking forward to do. And of course, myself and the panelists and the attendees would look forward to hear more about your research and your results. I want to pass to my co-moderator, that is Mohammed, so that we can get more questions. So the
Sure, Peter.
speakers, be ready for that.
Thank you very much. And now, thank you, Peter, for asking a few questions. And there are a few more questions. The first question is from Janita. The question is, do you have any formal education in research? How would a pharmacy technician become involved in or initiate research in their facility? Janita, the question is from you.
Okay, so how will a pharmacy technician become involved or get involved in clinical research? There are a few skills that are necessary for a technician to acquire, to possess, to transition into a clinical research setting. The first skill I would recommend is to be proficient in sterile compounding as well as non-sterile compounding. Those are two important skills as a technician you should acquire, and you should pursue certification in sterile as well as non-sterile compounding. And from my part of the world in the US, currently technicians can pursue certification in sterile compounding through the National Pharmacy Technician Association, NPTA, as well as PTCB currently offers certification in sterile compounding. So with those credentials, with a certification, you stand a better chance at finding an opportunity in research, in a research clinic, in a research setting, for a pharmacy technician. And the second part of the question, no, I do not have prior experience in clinical research, but my skills and my experience was useful in propelling me into a research setting. So while you will begin your career in traditional pharmacy, you can use your experience to further your to grow in the pharmacy technician as a pharmacy technician. And as I mentioned, obtaining a certification in sterile and non-sterile compounding is very important. And also there are free courses out there that you can pursue that would enhance your portfolio and be able to transition into a into a clinical pharmacy setting, research setting. And you can look up those courses on LinkedIn. There are many free courses available through ACRP, the Association of Clinical Research Professionals, where I pursued a course in Introduction to Clinical Research. And there are also many other free courses available through Coursera, through that platform, which you can pursue in clinical research.
That's very great.
I hope that helps.
Yeah, sure. It really uh, does. It was a very great, a very comprehensive answer. So we really appreciate it. And now my next question is from Jacinta Brasil. The first question is that, in your opinion, what is the gold standard method for assessing hydration? And can you kindly update us about the future projects that you are currently working on? Thank you.
Well, it depends on what you're looking for. If you're trying to understand the impact of hydration in the long run for the cardiovascular disease or kidney disease, you should look at copeptin. If you're trying to assess an athlete or a firefighter or even a military, because the hydration investigation always goes to these kind of jobs, then you should look at urinary methods as well. On a day-to-day basis, as a tip for everybody, you should look at the urine scale color. That's really informative and helpful. Or even the number of voids. If you're going to the bathroom less than 7 times a day on a 24-hour period, that means you probably need to drink more water and you're hypohydrated, with the consequences that it comes from there. The other question was further investigation. Well, I'm currently pursuing with a project at the European level, and we're trying to assess the impact of climate changes and heat waves on long-term health in humans. So we have a lot of people from all around the world here today, and that would be interesting to see in some of the countries that we have here today as well.
That's great.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, that's great. It was a very good answer, and we really appreciate your answer and your seminar as well. So now moving on to Justice. Justice, the questions are from you are that, what are some of the challenges you face at MAT clinics, especially with inmates at the prison setup, and how is the acceptance of MAT clinics within the community living around? Justice, the questions are for you.
Thank you very much, Mohammed. The first question is about the challenges that we face, especially with the inmates and the prisoners when we're giving methadone. At the prison setup, we really don't get much time of aftercare and even integration with other people, like their families and friends. They have got very limited time just to get the methadone, and they also uh, feel like they need to be treated as special, not like other inmates, while the standard of the prison should be uniform. So we really face that as a challenge. And to your next question is about the integration or the acceptability of these opioid, the illicit opioid users, or the setup of the methadone clinic within the community. I can say that the community is now getting to accept the clinic because they are seeing the fruits of the methadone, helping their families, helping their friends to integrate back together in the community and coming to be able to make a clear decision in their life and improving their quality of life. So right now the community are accepting, with just few of them still having discrimination or having stigma against these illicit opioid users. Thank you.
Thank you very much for your answer. It is really very impressive. And now let us move to the next section of the presentation, wrap up and conclusion. Can we have the slide, please? I would like to request the presenters if they can just briefly tell us about their presentation and the message that they want the audience to take. So if we can start with Janaila. Janata, what message would you like the audience to take from your presentation or what you have said over here today?
So to our audience out there, pharmacy technicians who are interested in growing and moving forward into the sphere of clinical research, my advice to you is to first gain certification in sterile and non-sterile compounding, because with those certifications, definitely opportunities will open and present to you to move forward in your profession, and to also pursue courses available in clinical research. As I mentioned earlier, there are courses available on Coursera that you can pursue and will be great on your resume to be able to launch forward into a clinical research setting. And as the demand for new medicines grow around the world to improve treatment in different diseases and conditions, so is we have the need for newer drugs to manage diseases and conditions. And here, pharmacy technicians will play a vital role in assisting in those trials to bringing new drugs onto the market. So definitely there is need and there is a role for us all as pharmacy technicians to support pharmacists in conducting clinical trials, whether it's phase 1,
Exactly.
phase 2, phase 3, or phase 4, to bring drugs to the market for patients around the world. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you for your answer. Now, Jakanta, what is the message that you would leave the audience with?
Well, probably it's never too late to take a new course on your career. I've been working for almost 19 years now in a public hospital in Portugal. And when I did my master's, I finished my master's in 2023, only 2 years ago. And it opened up a lot of doors for me now. So I've been invited to international work groups. I've been invited for international projects and national projects on this field of hydration study. So if you have a dream or you have an area of interest or something you like, go and learn more about it. Get skills, get the knowledge, get the connections, and maybe you would find a new area of interest and a new path for you and your career.
Thank you very much. Those are some wise and very good words, and I hope they will be beneficial for our audience as well. And finally, I would like to ask Justice that what is the message you'd like our audience to leave with?
Thank you very much, Mohammed. My message is that the pharmacy technician, there are more space for us to do more research in collaboration with the pharmacists and other healthcare workers, especially on the social sciences. We can also really help to help the patient that we are serving. And the second item is that methadone is a good program for full recovery for those who are misusing or those who are using illicit opioid. And if you are listening and you're having a challenge of those people who are using this kind of substances, you can recommend them to methadone for a full recovery. And even if you want to learn more, I can welcome you to Kenya, to Shimo la Tewa, so that you can learn more, especially at the prison setup. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Justice. That was very great. And hopefully, one day we will come to Kenya to learn more from you. So that's it from the question and answers session. And the wrap up. Next slide, please. So the recording of this episode will be made available on www.fip.org. Please provide your feedback to webinars@fip.org so FIP may continue to improve their digital event offerings. Visit events.fip.org for all future events. Next, please.
I think, Mohammed, we are coming to an end. Okay. Okay. And I wish I would invite Kathy maybe to conclude for us and maybe tell us more about the upcoming Congress and how to join FIP. And maybe as we thank him for helping us to coordinate all the pharmacy technicians across so that we can know what looks forward for us. Welcome, Kathy.
Thank you, Peter. This wasn't necessary for me to come on, but I am a member of the governance group for the Pharmacy Technician Advisory Committee, and certainly welcome all of you and for being here today. I have to tell you that these webinars that are produced by the PTAC have a great response, and probably more than any other responses that FIP has other than Congress. So congratulations to all of you for taking part of these webinars. They're so informative, and I thank our speakers that put all their efforts into presenting for us today, and the knowledge and skills that they bring to the pharmacy support workforce. We really try to include pharmacy technicians and pharmacy technologists as much as we can, and to support their scope of practice. So thank you again. And just to let you know that somebody commented about joining FIP. There is a slide that's coming up that tells you how to join, and that you can be part of the Pharmacy Technician Advisory Group if you choose to. Just to let us know when you do your application for FIP, or send us a note. So thank you again to our presenters. Thank you again for Peter and Mohammad for monitoring today. They did a great job. So take care, everyone. Hope to see you in Copenhagen, or see you